We all have some kind of shadowy aspect, some kind of demon, something that lurks beneath the surface of our being on the physical level. So we need to dig down inside of us to find what is in there unconsciously. And so what's really buried below the surface of our being? When we go out to events and situations and work and we do the things that we do in our day-to-day lives, we only show certain parts of ourselves. Who has an ego? Everyone is raising their hand. And so we put on a false sense of self at times as a collective. We put on a mask where we hide aspects of ourselves that we do not want other people to notice. And so it's really, really important that we make sure that we are not denying and disowning those parts of ourselves when we interact with the world in that way. When we cover up those parts of ourselves, we're basically putting on a filter of, this is what I want you to see of me, and I'm going to cover up this part of myself. Now, as much as it's important to, let go of those shadowy aspects of ourselves, it's also important to face them and bring awareness. The classic metaphor of bring the Medusa out of the cave. Bring it into the light of awareness. Are we going to spend our days cutting off snake heads? We cut off one head, 2 more grow in its place, and then we're having to chop off the snake heads. As exhausting as it is, we still don't want to get bit, so we keep doing that. We keep doing those unconscious habit patterns. What are the shadowy aspects of yourself? Is it, for me, I'm dealing with some kind of, I'm just going to come out and say it, OCD tendencies at the moment. And it isn't so much compulsive action as it is doing things out of irrationality when it comes to cleaning and contamination. So that's where I'm at. That's how my mind has gotten itself wired. And whenever I go into those compulsive habit patterns, I count down from 5 to 1 or 3 to 1 to get myself to stop. To notice, okay, I'm feeding this pattern. This is getting excessive and ridiculous and monotonous and tiresome and exhausting, and this should not happen. I'm going to stop. And so I have been living a life where I've been very, very self-aware. And there's certain things that I have not gotten to in my life because of the amount of things that I feel that I need to take care of. And it's a process of not feeding into your demons, not giving your life force energy to monsters in the mind to starve the monster. What are we going to give our life force energy to? Who are we going to give it to? we're not going to just devote it to every single person that walks around. Looking at my hands to make sure that they are not cracking or bleeding. So, what are we going to give that to? Who are we going to give that to? And I think that the opposite placement of where the North Node is right now in the sign of Libra is really about who do we choose to be in relationship with? Who do we choose to relate to? You can meet anyone off the street and show them respect and show them kindness. Just out of just common courtesy. But what about relating to another person and getting into harmony and balance with that person? Who are we going to show our worth and give our value to? And so, in terms of relationships, if there would be a toxic relationship, hopefully we can see the signs that the universe is trying to have us see. And if it is a toxic habit pattern, let's hope that we nip it in the bud early on so that it doesn't manifest as something greater and something bigger and something more extreme and something more serious, more severe, more challenging, more difficult to get out of. So we need to also accept ourselves and accept our shadows and accept our flaws and imperfections, warts and all. We need to come to terms with this. We need to first surrender, and we need to find inner peace with what we have done and how we are now and what we're dealing with, first of all. But are we willing to dig deep into ourselves and into our unconscious habit patterns and into our unconscious ways of being and our deepest desires and motivations and feelings and emotions? Feelings and emotions are two different things. Emotions come from, inside or outside. Feelings inside or outside. But we need to dig deep, first of all of us need to dig deep and find what is going on, what is at the root of why I'm taking this action, why am I doing this thing. And if there was any kind of trauma or traumatic event or crisis or difficulty or whatever it may be that happened in our life that got implanted into our consciousness that causes us to act in certain ways. I think when you're watching videos, some aspects of that information go into our conscious mind, and then others just take sort of they go in through a hidden tube that you can't even see, and it enters into your unconscious. So it's very important, the seeds that we allow others to plant inside of us, and therefore it's very important that we're very discerning about the information that we're taking in and the energy and the vibration that it gives us. I mean, does it cause fear and stress and anxiety and worry and panic and sorrow and just unnecessary pain? Does it cause all kinds of negativity? Or does it bring us closer to our intuition, closer to joy and things like love and peace and presence and all of those positive things. So that information and those experiences that we have in life together create the actions that we take. I mean, why, on the extreme end, if we're talking about really negative life experiences that instill fears in us, and maybe some self-destructive habit patterns. I mean, experiences create associations in the mind, and we associate certain things with certain feelings. For example, I was visiting family way back in the summer of 2011. I was only 7 years old at the time. And I think that was when I was going through my first Saturn square. So what was going on was I was visiting family, an aunt and an uncle, and I went to a hibachi restaurant, and I'd never been to one before. And it was a brand new experience. I was sitting down. There was this big, fat metal table, and we were just sitting there, and it was a beautiful summer's evening. It was sunny, and then there was a man who came over and started putting things on the grill, and then he put something on the grill, and then it all suddenly, out of the blue, burst up into flames, and I was scared to death. I was very, very frightened because it was sudden. It wasn't just, I'm going to light one spark of fire, and then this spark of fire is going to be lit, and then it's just going to grow. The fire is going to go gradually. Actually, no. It was all of a sudden, and so it was very, very scary. I put my head down, all those kind of things like that. And the association that I have to hibachi restaurants is fear. The same thing of, being afraid of the sound effect of sudden thunder and lightning. I mean, anything that's sudden noise was very fearful for me. I was very shocked and startled and put off by that. The fire alarm suddenly going off. And this was a big one. Automatic flush toilets. I've gotten over that fear already. And so I'm just kind of going down the list of certain fears that I've had. There were several experiences, particularly one experience at Culver's, where I was in the restroom and it either was a hand flush or automatic flush toilet. And it was sudden. I wasn't just pushing the lever and doing it from my own control. It flushed just suddenly, and it was unexpected, and I became very, very fearful of that, of how loud it would be, what the sound would be. And so that was another fear. I also acquired a fear in the summer of 2015 of buzzy flies to my ears. I was very, very afraid because I was waiting for the next shoe to drop. I didn't know when a fly would buzz in my ear or not. And the sound and the frequency of the buzzing really created fear. And so other fears, another fear is fear of altitude. I don't really have a fear of heights, necessarily speaking, unless I would be climbing a mountain or doing something like that. I'm pretty comfortable with that. But I do have a fear of altitude when it comes to my ears, and I do fear my ears popping. And I have this idea that the next time I go on a plane or in the mountains, I will do an incantation, or I will sing, or I will do like, the thing is risen, like something that would distract myself away from the experience, and it would be verbal. I mean, I don't care about the people. I mean, the people on the plane can think whatever they want to. I'm coping with it the way that I feel comfortable coping with it. And so I think with the altitude, I think singing or any distraction is going to be helpful. And of course, the more powerful the popping of the ear, the stronger I will sing and try to rise above and try to win the fight that I have with singing, competing against, battling against the popping of my ears. My ears are a very, very sensitive part of my body. And that's the part of my body where I have to be the one to get in there. A doctor really can't get in there unless they're going to be gentle and also allow me to put whatever scope in. Because although those things that you put, the doctors put those things in your ear, although they look small, they feel really, really huge and frightening in your ear. So I am very sensitive when it comes to those kind of things like that. So, those are some fears. But, whatever it may be, what is the skeleton in your closet? What are those vulnerable, very deep and dark parts of yourself that you need to allow a seat at the table? Allow the pain to be transmuted. Allow the pain to have a voice. There's a card in Colette Baron Reid's Oracle deck, The Shaman's Dream. That's a phenomenal deck. And the card is transmuting pain. And so allowing the pain to be there. Because this life is the way of pain. And so, there's a reason why you have these patterns, that you have this pain, this trauma, everything like that. I mean, isn't there always a reason? But the thing is, we can do deep healing work on ourselves, with loving ourselves, with integrating all of our guilt, our pain, our shadows, all those kind of things. But we need to look at them. We need to be willing to face those parts of ourselves and do the work with grace, with patience, with self-acceptance, and with compassion for ourselves. Understanding that, yes, we may do the healing forward, or we may go forward and then we may backtrack, because healing is not linear. We keep going back. However, when we keep going back, it becomes less severe. It becomes less big. It becomes less negative. And it becomes easier to move in the more positive direction. It becomes easier to heal and move forward and make progress and move ourselves in a direction of a higher frequency of, love, joy, bliss, all those kind of things like that. So, yeah. But we need to look at the skeleton in our closet. And removing it is not going to be a one-night stand. It is going to take time. But we need to first dig deep and look at what we need to look at. And so in astrology, that is Pluto. Pluto always wants you to move 1 inch closer to your empowerment. Anything that is not self-empowerment is something that Pluto is going to destruct and is going to transform into self-empowerment. That can come through releasing certain attachments and ways of being that just do not work for us. And the longer that we cling to those things, the more unhappy we are. And Pluto will throw a wrench at you, a knife at you, just so that you can get out of the self-destructive behavior, the limiting behavior. And so that's Pluto. It's, death, rebirth, transformation, that whole cycle. But we need to go into the underworld. We need to go into the basement. And that's Pluto's domain. When we hold on, the real suffering and pain is when we hold on to what we know does not work for us. That's something to it as well. I didn't want to get too in the weeds with Pluto and all that it means. I hope that you found, a sort of understanding and safe sanctuary with this video. I hope that you found it comforting to listen to, and harrowing to listen to, and I hope that you found it an empowering video. So that's all for now, and I'll see you in another contemplation or in another video. I just want to announce that every single week I take a look at the astrological energies for the week. And I also do a general astrology video where I talk about just a placement in astrology or a planet in astrology or the midheaven, the ascendant. I'm currently going through Saturn through all 12 signs. I've already done my introduction video on this planet Saturn in astrology. And then I've already done a video on Saturn in the sign of Aries. Next week on Sunday, September 24th, I'm going to publish a video on Saturn in the sign of Taurus. I also would really encourage you to follow the community tab on my YouTube channel, because I do daily written posts every single day, which is, creative writing, whatever I have inspiration and motivation and interest to write about. It can be astrology, spirituality. I make up stories and I share spiritual lessons within those stories. I mean, whatever wants to come through, but it is daily written posts. Whenever I post a new video that I feel proud about, that I want to, truly put out there, then I put a video post to that, and then any channel update and announcements, I'll put those. I put all of those in the community tab. And there will be a poll that will be coming out pretty soon on September 30th, where I will be asking you, do you want me to produce separate videos for the upcoming eclipses? There's going to be a solar eclipse on October 14th in Libra, and then there's going to be just a partial last-ditch lunar eclipse in Taurus on the 28th of October. So that poll will be coming out on September 30th, so make sure that you keep updated, that you're subscribed to my channel so that you can see those posts and those videos when they get published to my channel. I wish you the best. Bye, everyone.